Hi, my peeps, and welcome back to the channel where we find out what kind of dumb stuff the young earthers have to say about their world view today. And we're gonna go back to Eric Hovind. I just love him, you know? So, my last few videos on Eric, before I took a break from Eric and went on to Answers in Genesis and Genesis Apologetics, was about the flood. Because, I mean, come on. We all like their excuses about how a mythical worldwide flood was possible 4,400 years ago, even though science literate people know there's no fucking way to have a global flood. But, make fun of it. And hey, throw in some education while you're at it, because, these people need all the goddamn help they can find, and they really don't have much education. So, I'll help you out. At any rate, I'll do my shilling because, come on, that's part of my job. And then, little Eric, you can take it away and spew all the nonsense that you want so I can tear it apart. And while you're thinking about it, if you're new, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? And if you've already subscribed to me, make sure you're still subscribed, because for some reason, YouTube loves to unsubscribe people. Also, if you're new here, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me a chance. And for my fans and subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. You are the lifeblood of this channel. And now, with that, let's get on with the video.
Catastrophic flood too. There was no tranquil flood to it at all. That's why we see all these animals buried and ripped apart and torn apart. We find bone beds of dinosaurs all shredded,
all
ripped all
twisted
apart.
Yeah.
But it was a progressive flood. That's what I'm seeing, which I never knew. Then I read Genesis chapter 7. I'm like, why didn't I see this? That's what God tells us.
See, that's it, because I've always thought, okay, it flooded, rain 40 days.
You know, Timmy boy, I absolutely eat it up that even you have to offhandedly admit that there are periods of time, because believe it or not, that's what you admitted by saying you gotta get it out of your head. Tim, it is really, really bad when even I don't know where to begin with this shitload of misinformation and lies. I really don't know where to begin, so let me see. So, are you planning on getting anything right, Timmy boy, or do you plan on being a Kent Hovind 2 that packs more lies into sentences than there are words in that sentence? Because if so, good for me. After all, I have science on my side, and I can prove my claims. Unlike you, who goes to an Iron Age book that was written by a bunch of superstitious people, and that's that. Not to mention the fact that the more you get wrong in your own supposed field, the more I can prove you to be a liar and that nobody should trust you. Not to mention, I've got more content. I love pictures of the Grand Canyon. I wish I could go there in person, but I don't think I'm ever going to get there. But moving on. Do you see the layers here? Why do you think the layers are there? You can't get these types of layers from a flood. You just can't. It's impossible. Not to mention that a fucking flood would not give you a canyon like this. It would be more like this, which is from the Mount St. Helens eruption. Now, I'm not a geologist, and I don't like eyeballing things because it's just not very scientific. But even eyeballing, you can tell these are different. I may go more in depth into Mount St. Helens in another video. I'm not sure. I don't really plan my videos in advance. I just grab whatever I can find on the internet to reply to, and that's what I do. So here we go.
You got to get the idea of the periods out of your head. There was no period of time, millions of years ago, when only these things lived. And that's the evolutionary story.
Okay.
All we see is a progressive, more and more rock layers piled on top of each other, but they're consistent with the fossils buried at each level because they were burying different ecological zones all around the world at the same time as the water went higher.
Well, Timmy boy, I gotta hand it to you. You do know how to lie. Now, sticking to a story is a better way, and telling the truth is also a better way to connect to your audience. But I guess you don't really care about that now, do you? First of all, it's not millions of years, it's billions of years. Get it right. And as far as we know, it's 4.54 billion years. But anyway, and that is not an evolutionary concept. That is a geological concept, and you know this. We have distinct rock layers with distinct fossils within each distinct rock layer and distinct ecosystems within those distinct rock layers. There has to be some reason for this. I just don't know what it is. Geez, I'm going to have to think about this for a very long time. Oh, wait. No, I don't, because I already know the answer. And no, that does not mean I know all the answers, but I do know a few of the answers. And nobody knows all the answers. And by the way, that means you aren't a know-it-all, and neither is your fucking book. So I have to ask you a question that you will never answer because you can never answer. If these layers were the result of a worldwide flood, why are these layers made up of different sediments, and why are there different fossils in each layer? If this was all the result of a worldwide flood, there would only be one sedimentary layer, not several. And second of all of the fossils would be a great big jumble.
There was all this order to the fossils. You can find order globally of the same fossils being deposited about the same time.
So
the dinosaurs all show up at the same time,
right?
Pretty much orderly, and then they disappear. There's no extinctions. That's just where their environment was totally wiped out by the advancing floodwaters.
Interesting.
Yes, there is a progression of fossils, and you know what that means to me, boy. I know you know because you're a geologist. It means that secular paleontology and geology are correct, and you are wrong, and you are lying, and you know it, and you have to lie. It's the only way for you to get your sheeple to buy your bullshit, because if you told the truth, then they would know that you're full of shit and every other young earther is full of shit, and you people would have to go get real fucking jobs, and I'm going to call you out. Distinct fossil layers is exactly what we should expect to find if secular science is true. And you just admitted that that is exactly what we find. Thank you very much. Otherwise, if it was a flood, distinct fossil layers in distinct ecosystems is exactly what we would not expect to find. We would expect to find fossils all jumbled together, which we don't find. Timmy, you are so easy to impress. Since you are impressed by orderly fossil layers from all over the world, let's talk about that. There are 5 major extinction events in Earth history, and you can find them just about anywhere. So I just grabbed the first site I could find for the mass extinctions. The last one was 66 million years ago, which was the extinction of the dinosaurs. The greatest one is called the Great Dying, or the Permian extinction. Now, for my creationist friends who may be listening to this, because these are millions of years ago, these dates are approximate. We can't hone in exactly on how long ago it was. Second, just because they're called mass extinction events does not mean that everything died. The greatest mass extinction event, which is why it's called the Great Dying, was the Permian extinction event, in which 90% of all living organisms died. Now, life finds a way. I know that's hard for you to believe, but life always finds a way, which is why we are here today.
Fossils are still out there. The bones of this new Patagotitan were in the American Museum of Natural History. The most complete T-Rex skeleton ever found is that of a female, nicknamed Sue, who currently stands at Chicago's Field Museum of Natural History. Sue is 40 feet long, stood 12 feet tall at the hips, and may have weighed as much as 14 metric tons.
Dinosaurs all show up at the same time,
right?
Pretty much orderly, and then they disappear. There's no extinctions. That's just where their environment was totally wiped out by the advancing floodwaters. So there's really no extinction events at all.
And are you seeing those ecosystems, if I can call them that?
Yeah.
Are you seeing them as different elevations?
I believe so.
Okay.
And that's some of the...
Oh boy. Let me hit myself in the head with a hammer to fix all my neuronal overload, and then think about this for a little bit so I know how to tackle this jumble of lies. I'm not going to address these in any particular order, so let's get to the no extinction event. Tim, what do you think an extinction event is? Even if I grant you that a worldwide flood happened, and it didn't, it is still an extinction. Extinction does not mean that everything on Earth dies. That is just ridiculous. In no extinction event has everything died. Okay? Get that straight. Little aside here, I am not an expert on extinction events. So, if that is not the case and there was an extinction event where everything died, please correct me and leave it in the comments. Thanks. As for you thinking different ecosystems are at different altitudes, yeah, I could see how you could ask that sort of a question. I live in Oregon, and I live in a valley, and it hardly ever snows here, but the mountains are so close that you can see them. I mean, literally see them, and see them so closely that you can see the snow. And yeah, it snows a lot on the mountains. But change in altitude is gradual in general, especially here in Oregon. There are some places where there's up straight, but usually it's gradual. So a change in ecosystem isn't going to be that drastic. And again, I am no ecologist, so if I am wrong on that end, then please correct me in the comments. However, we have the same animals down here in the valley that we have up in the mountains. Come on. Future Lisa cutting in to say, yes, I know that as far as we know, the biggest extinction was the Permian extinction, in which about 90% of all living animals went extinct. When I say as far as I know, no extinction event had 100% of the species going extinct, because, I mean, it would be possible, yeah, but I mean, life always finds a way. But that is as far as I know. Also, I didn't really explain this, but I guess somebody needs me to explain it. Extinction doesn't mean everything dies, Tim. Extinction means that even one species can die out.
Core
Data
samples.
points, right.
And how many core samples did you say you guys have?
Well, we've done over
examined?
3,000 as of today.
Wow.
Probably we're close to 3,100 now. And we're probably going to put several hundred more in for sure across Australia. So we'll probably be close to 3,500, maybe even 4,000 data points when it's done.
The kind of core samples that Timmy Boy is talking about here are rock samples, but they can be any substrate, such as ice or mud.
Okay, so when we bring these rocks in from the field, they're usually covered with dust, dirt. They have vegetation on them, and importantly, they got this oxidized rind where the elements, like such as wind and water, have been basically destroying the minerals that make up the rock. And so, what we want to do, to the best of our ability, is to clean all of that off, because we want to get to the inside of the rock to see what it was originally made out of. And so we take these rocks and we wash them, and we will take them down to the saw room and cut them into slices, kind of like a loaf of bread, and we get these slabs of rock. And so you can see this is the same rock, and going from one to the next they're totally different.
You know, the secularists, the conventional geologists, they have to explain, why do 80% of the world's mountains all show up at once? Even in their time frame.
Even in their time frame, 80% of the world's mountains show up at the same.
Even according to our time frame, about 80% of mountains were formed at the same time? I'm sure you're right about that one, Timmy, but let me check it just in case. Well, according to this site, the Himalayas are 50 million years old. And according to this site, the Rocky Mountains were formed somewhere between 320 to 280 million years old. That's a lot of time, but you did say 80% and not 100%, so let's see. And gosh darn it, wouldn't you believe it? A few seconds on Google brought me to this site, which says the Andes started forming around 25 million years ago. Wow, it sure seems like maybe 80% of the mountains didn't start forming at the same time. And oh my gosh, this site says that the Appalachians formed between 500 million and 300 million years ago. Gee, this doesn't bode very well for your argument, Timmy boy. You lying fool, you. You know, I wouldn't recommend lying during any age, but in this day and age where you can be fact checked so easily, I don't recommend you lying on something so easily fact checked. I know your idiots won't fact check, but we will. Congratulations for sticking with me through this shit show of lying bastards. Actually, I would say Tim is a lying bastard. Not so sure about Eric. I'm more inclined to go softer on Eric. And the only reason I'm inclined to go softer on Eric is because honestly, I have a soft spot in my heart for him because he had a really sick bastard of a dad and he got beat. So, yeah. Still, Eric, you are a grown ass dude. So, you should be able to do your own research by now. And you know what? Libraries do have, like, places you can go that can teach you. And when I say research, I mean, like, real research, as in real academic journals, not the echo chambers that are Institute for Creation Research, Answers in Genesis, and all that other bullshit. At any rate, that's all I've got for today in way of calling out the bullshit of these creationists. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you can, throw a little bit of money my way. You can become a member of my channel for as low as 99 cents a month. That gets you these debunks at least one day, usually 2 days early, and also gives you custom emojis. Or if you want to do a one time, you can do my PayPal.